not speak, how they can make that known to us so we can call on them?
Yeah, let's do that. And I have started recording, so if you have anything embarrassing or anything to say or do, don't do it. So thanks for everybody who's joining our Planning Commission meeting tonight. There are several ways to participate in the meeting. One, you can go to the web browser and there's a link there on the screen, or it's probably easier to visit our website, which is also there, and you can click on the June 10th, 2020 agenda, and there's a link to get into the WebEx, which is what we're broadcasting through. If you are having any issues, there is a link for view instructions for joining a virtual meeting. Will help you join step by step. You could be watching through YouTube or on channel 17, and if you have comments and you'd like to share them with us, you can always send us an email at planning.comments@slcgov.com, and we will have employees monitoring those emails throughout the meeting. So feel free to send those to us, and we'll make sure that the commission gets those.
Great, thank you, John. I will go ahead and start the meeting of the Salt Lake City Planning Commission of June 10th, 2020. Our first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for May 27th, 2020. Does anybody have any comments or questions, or is anyone willing to make a motion on the minutes?
I'll move that we approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Okay, thank you. So that was a motion by Maureen and a second by, I didn't catch, was that Carolyn? Thank you. Okay, we'll run down the list here. Maureen?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Andreas? Andreas?
Yay.
Brenda?
Yes.
Crystal?
Yes.
Carolyn?
Agree.
Sarah?
Yes.
Okay, unanimous, motion passes. Next item on the agenda would be the report of the chair and the vice chair, and I have nothing to report.
I have nothing to report either.
Okay, and now we'll move on to the report of the director. John or Molly, do you all have anything to report?
I do not have anything to report. Director Nick is here as well. I don't think he has anything.
I probably don't have much, just reminders that if you're not speaking to mute your microphone so we can avoid as much feedback as possible. One thing that I do want to give not just the commission a heads up on, but anybody who may be tuning in, is that we are really close to launching our next survey related to our affordable housing overlay project. That survey will basically include a bunch of different options on how we could get affordable housing, and we want to gauge public interest and input on what those options are, so we can put together a proposal. And we'll be doing some outreach events over the next month, starting probably actually in July, just timing wise and things like that. So that's a big, important project for us. So we're looking forward to launching that and seeing the results.
Great. Nick, any questions for Nick on that? No? Okay, we'll now move on to the next item on the agenda, unfinished business. This was an item we tabled at a recent hearing. Item number 1, conditional use ADU at approximately 1020 South Lincoln Street. And Linda is the staff presenter for this.
Linda available? All right. Know that her sound was working earlier because we were
Okay.
talking earlier. It looks like she might have disappeared.
Can everyone see my screen? No?
Not yet.
We see.
Let's
Not
try it again.
That looks a lot better, Linda.
Perfect. All right. So this unfinished business is a petition for a conditional use for a detached ADU to be placed in the rear yard of the existing single family located at 1020 South Lincoln. Just as a reminder, the property is zone R1 5000, single family residential. On May 13, 2020, the Planning Commission held a public hearing and reviewed this conditional use request. And at that meeting, the Planning Commission closed the public hearing, and there was considerable discussion about the existing basement use of the single-family dwelling. A motion was made to table the petition, with the Planning Commission directing staff to conduct research and report back on the use determination of the principal building, specifically if the basement level is a separate dwelling unit. The applicant has submitted photographs of the interior space from the exterior entry to the basement level. As shown here, the photographs show the basement level has a shared space between the sleeping area, living area, with a kitchenette consisting of a small refrigerator and a microwave, plus a full bathroom. The basement level does have free flow access to the main floor. The interior door between the main level and basement does not have a locking hardware. Therefore, there is no restriction of free flow between the spaces. Just want to go over these images real quickly. Image 1 is a view of the rear exterior entrance to the main floor with stairs on the left leading to the basement level. Image 2 is a view of the stairs down to the basement level. And as you can see, it's just a curtain. And in image 3 and 4 is that interior door between that basement level and the main floor. And you can see the same doorknob without a locking hardware. And lastly, image 5 is a view of the upstairs from the basement level. As you can see, the interior door is on your left and the exterior door is on your right. So in reviewing the submitted photographs from the applicant and current use with the listed definitions, the basement would not be considered an additional dwelling unit. The applicant has showed that there's free flow, in other words, no locked doors between the main level and the basement level, and that the occupants conform to the zoning definition of family. Therefore, the principal building on the property is considered a single-family dwelling and is in compliance with the zoning ordinance that limits the number of ADUs on a property to 1. The conditional use request remains the same as what was presented at the May 13th meeting. I do want to go over a couple of comments received since the last hearing to bring to your attention. Most of the comments received by the public are short-term rentals, concerned about the short-term rentals on the property. And in addition, East Liberty Park Community Organization has provided a letter yesterday on this project, which is uploaded on Dropbox. 2 questions were brought up. One was in regards to the difficulty of determining whether there's a locking hardware on the interior door based on the images on in the staff memorandum. And the applicant has provided closer photographs of the doorknob as shown in this presentation. And it's also uploaded to Dropbox for your review. The second question was in regards to the short-term rental happening on the property. It's a primary concern for the community council. And quote, "We believe adding an ADU with an active Airbnb listing could create an effective triplex in an area zoned for single-family homes." I do want to note that a civil enforcement case was open a couple of weeks after the May 13th Planning Commission hearing regarding the short-term rental. It is still being investigated, but the alleged short-term rental is a civil enforcement issue. In addition, a condition has been added to note that short-term rentals are not permitted in the single-family dwelling or accessory dwelling unit. And non-compliance with the conditions prescribed upon approval of a conditional use may be grounds for the suspension or revocation of a conditional use. So in concluding, the ADU, as proposed, generally meets all the applicable standards as previously discussed and also noted in attachments D and E of the staff report. Therefore, staff is recommending the Planning Commission approve this conditional use request. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Linda. Any questions for Linda at this point? We also have the applicant who's available, Andrea Palmer and Ian Kaplan, to answer any questions from the commission. If there be any.
Just minor question for is the only the kitchenette really just that little mini fridge and microwave? There's no other like kitchen or anything in this space?
Yeah, correct. It's just a mini fridge and microwave. That's all that's in there in the basement.
Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions from the commission? And because we had the public hearing on this item already, we can move to a motion should someone feel so inclined, unless there's more discussion we need to have.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Brenda.
Based on the findings listed in the staff report, the information presented, and the input received during the public hearing last Planning Commission, I move that the Planning Commission approve the conditional use request PLN PCM 2019-01079 as proposed, subject to complying with the conditions listed in the memorandum.
Great. Got a motion by Brenda,
Second.
by John. Okay, let's start with Sarah.
Yes.
Carolyn. Carolyn. Carolyn.
Yes.
Thank you. Crystal.
Yes.
Brenda.
Yes.
Andreas.
Yay.
Matt.
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Amy.
Yes.
Maureen.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes unanimously. Thank you all. Next item on the agenda, we will now move into the public hearing portion of our agenda, and we've got two items. So the next item on our agenda is a conditional use ADU at approximately 1180 South, 800 East, case number PLN PCM 2020-00122. And Linda is also making the staff presentation.
Hey, Madam Chair, real
Yes.
quick before we continue, this is Nick Norris. I just wanted to, I forgot to announce this earlier, but it's, I just wanted to make sure that everybody knows that we'll do everything we can to make sure that the commissioner's video feeds are live. There's some technical issues that sometimes prevent that from happening. So I just want everybody to recognize that, that we're making sure that we are monitoring to make sure we maintain a quorum throughout the meeting, whether somebody's video is on or not. Thank
Great.
you.
Thanks for that, Nick. Okay, we're now viewing Linda's screen, I believe.
Yes. Everyone still can see my screen, correct?
Yes.
Perfect. So this petition is for a conditional use for a detached ADU to be placed in the rear yard of an existing single-family dwelling on a corner lot located at approximately 1180 South, 800 East. Subject parcel is Zone R1 5,000 single-family residential located on 800 East between Liberty Avenue and 1300 South, and staff is recommending approval with conditions. The proposed detached ADU would be above a new two-car garage located in the rear yard adjacent to the alley. The gross floor area of the ADU would be approximately 633 square feet, with the building footprint also the same 633 square feet. The ADU would be on the second level of the two-story structure containing one bedroom, one bath with a flat roof measured approximately 19 feet 2 inches in height. The exterior building materials would consist of brick veneer, horizontal lap sidings, and wood trims. The proposed ADU would have a balcony area that's approximately 52 square feet with exterior stairs along the south elevation. The ADU entrance would face the south interior lot line, and there are several windows on all elevations. The proposed windows are similar in size and profile as the windows found on the principal structure. The pedestrian access goes through the proposed concrete driveway to the alley, which leads out to Liberty Avenue. The parking for the existing house would be accommodated by the 2 off-street parking spaces in the new detached garage below the ADU, which would be accessed from the alley. And the proposed parking for the ADU would be in the rear yard between the ADU and the south lot line, with access also from the alley. Some key considerations, first being the parking location. As noted, the parking would be provided from in the rear yard, and the ordinance only requires 1 parking space for an ADU. Second, housing goals. The proposed ADU is consistent with the goals and policies outlined within this growing SLC housing plan. Housing goals are addressed under Standard 3 within Attachment E of the staff report. And lastly, another key consideration is the Central Community Master Plan, which the ADU is consistent with the following residential land use goals and policies included in the Central Community Master Plan, as discussed in also Attachment E of the staff report. Here are some site visit photos. Image 1 is a view of that rear yard at the intersection of Liberty Avenue and the alley where the proposed ADU would be located. Image 2 is a view of Liberty Avenue looking towards 800 East with the subject property on the right. And image 3 is a view of the rear yard where the proposed ADU would be located. And image 4 is a view of the alley with the subject property on the left. Staff has not received any comments on this project. Therefore, the proposal generally meets all the applicable standards, and staff is recommending the Planning Commission approve this conditional use request. And this concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Linda. Any questions for Linda right now from any commissioners? I see none. Okay, I understand the applicant is here, available for questions, but no presentation. Do we have any questions for the applicant? Okay. Actually, Linda, I have a question for you. When you say in your, I didn't catch this on the last one, in your recommendation, your condition of approval, no responsible party shall operate or allow the operation of a short-term rental. Who is a responsible party?
Anyone who's managing that property, but with an ADU, it does require owner occupied on site. So, and also there is a provision that says it can be someone related. So therefore, it would include that member.
So the owner occupant or another occupant of the property, is that the intent?
Yes. In the ADU ordinance, it outlines who needs to occupy and how they're related.
Got it. Okay, thanks for that clarification. Okay, I will go ahead and open the public hearing. Is there anyone here from a community council? John, do we know?
There's not. We actually only have one attendee we have 2 attendees who are not with the applicants. And so I don't see anybody from the community council. Just as a reminder, if you want to speak, there's that little hand that you can raise. It looks like currently we have one hand from Zachary Dussault.
Okay. Go ahead, Zach. You'll have 2 minutes.
Hey guys, Zachary Dussault speaking in favor of the application. Just for the same reason I always speak in favor of ADUs, increasing housing options in the city. A nice way of adding density without kind of being overbearing on single family neighborhoods. And I know this is kind of not really related to this application in specific, but with the previous application, I just want to caution the commission on what I appear to, as an outside observer, see as the moving of the goalposts on ADUs. I believe this is the first application, or that previous application was the first one where staff actually had to go out and photograph doorknobs. And I don't really think that's the best use of the planning commission's time. And I do believe that that's an enforcement issue that should be left to housing and zoning enforcement and shouldn't be a condition of approval for ADUs or the allegations of short-term rentals being a reason for denial. And that's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Zach. Don, do we have any other?
I don't see any others, and we didn't receive any emails for this meeting at all, so.
Okay. So seeing that we have no other emails or other individuals expressing an interest to speak, I'll go ahead and close the public meeting or public hearing and bring the discussion back to the commission. Any additional comments, questions, concerns, discussion items from the commission, or is someone interested in making a motion?
Madam Chair, I just wanted to acknowledge that we did receive, and maybe Linda did this and I missed it, but we did receive a letter from the community council via email. I don't know if that's in your Dropbox, but I think it was received today. But it does indicate support. If you guys do not have it, we're happy to read it into the record.
I think we have it. Thanks, Nick.
Great.
I'm happy to make a recommendation or a motion. Based on findings in the staff report, information presented and input received during the public hearing, I move that the Planning Commission approve the conditional use request PLNP CM 2020-00122 as proposed, subject to complying with the conditions listed in the staff report.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Got a motion by Sarah and a second by Brenda. Any other discussion? Okay. Yes. Maureen,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Andreas,
A lot of typing going on.
somebody's typing furiously. What was that, Andreas?
Sorry, yes.
Thank you. Brenda,
Yes.
Crystal,
Yes.
Carolyn,
Agree.
and Sarah.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes unanimously. All right, moving on to agenda item 3. RB to CB rezone at approximately 989 East, 900 South.
Amy, can you mute your microphone?
Typing, yeah.
Sorry.
This is PLN PCM 2020-00126. And Daniel is making the staff report.
All right, I'm here. Hi, I'm just queuing up the PowerPoint.
Great, thank you, Daniel.
Great. Can you all see that?
We see this, wait, hold on. Yes.
The PowerPoint. Okay, great. Okay, so this is a rezone request for property at 989 East, 900 South. This is just east of the 9th and 9th intersection. And they're requesting to rezone the east half of the property from RB, or residential business, to CB, community business. And the reason for this, the applicant is exploring expansion options of their building because of the growing business, and they prefer to be able to develop under one consistent zone across the property. So with the rezone, staff compares the zones, their compatibility with the master plan, and potential impacts on adjacent properties. And just up front, we are recommending a positive recommendation as this proposal generally complies with the master plan and would impose better regulations for building design than the existing zone. And I'll cover that, how the considerations from the staff report relate to that in the next few slides.
Hey, Daniel, can I interrupt you for 1 second? So I just wanted to let you know, your applicant, Ryan Littlefield,
Yes.
I'm not able to make him a panelist. So I was wondering if he wanted to maybe exit and then try re-entering. The other applicant, Stuart Gray, I was able to make a presenter. So I just wanted to get that out. So if it takes him some time to re-enter. So thanks.
Okay, great.
Sorry for the interruption.
Sorry. Okay, so as part of the analysis, we compare the development potential of the current and proposed zones. They're generally similar in scale, but they differ primarily in design controls. So you can see on these aerials on the slide, on the left-hand side, you have the current developable area with the CB / RB split zoned property. So you can see that the property is limited on the east side with the RB setbacks of 10 feet on the front and corner, 6 feet on the side, and they can only cover 50% of the lot in that area with buildings. Whereas if you rezone the whole property to CB, you eliminate those setbacks and that lot coverage limitation, so you have a much greater area that you could fill with building on that east side. So this slide has a comparison of the design controls in each zone. They do have the same height limits, but there are differences as far as design standards. So the RB zone, there are few applicable design standards to this building. There's no glass minimums or blank wall maximums for any public street facing facades, and there's no other facade controls in that zone. Whereas with the CB, you have more applicable design standards. You have a 40% glass minimum, which is typical generally for our pedestrian-oriented zones, and a 15-foot maximum for any blank wall segments to help create some variation in the facade. With the RB, you have no roof design controls for additions to an existing flat roof building. Whereas with the CB, if you're doing a large addition or new build, you're kicked into a design review, and the CB zone has special considerations for roof compatibility with properties nearby. Overall, the RB zone, it really has no design controls for non-residential style buildings. It does a pretty good job of controlling, limiting character and feature changes to existing residential style buildings. But otherwise, for an existing commercial style building, it really doesn't have a lot of design standards. Whereas with the CB zone, for any large buildings or new buildings, you have to go through a design review process for scale, massing, setbacks, and design. And the special design guidelines for the CB zone. So as part of the rezone request, we also look at whether the zoning would be compatible with the master plan designation for the property. In this case, the property has a low density residential / mixed use designation, 5 to 10 dwelling units an acre. It supports low traffic generating commercial uses, small neighborhood retail service uses, a mix of residential above with small business at ground level, and otherwise small commercial uses that maintain a residential character. So in this case, the RB and CB zoning, both do exceed the density limitations. They don't have a density limit for multifamily development. They both allow for similar low intensity uses. The CB allows a few more intensity uses than the RB, including restaurants with drive-throughs. And both zones do allow for mixed use. However, with the RB zone, residential character considerations aren't required for additions but there are lot coverage limitations to help reduce that scale. Whereas the CB zone, again, requires scale, roof style, coverage compatibility review for larger additions and new buildings. So generally, staff believes this still fits within the master plan guidance, particularly related to residential character considerations, and it also complies with generally the use limitations from the master plan designation. So the other consideration is compatibility with adjacent properties. In this case, the west properties are already zoned CB, which would match the CB proposed zoning. Properties to the south, across 900 South, are buffered by the street, and as well as properties to the east, which are zoned RB, also have that street buffer. There is a single family property to the north of the site. It's in an institutional zone. So there's not a default buffer from the rezone property toward this property. Generally, those buffers only apply if you have a residentially zoned protected property next to a commercial property. So it's a little unique that this single family house is in an institutional zone. However, there are some things that provide buffering regardless of that. There's a 7-foot parking lot landscape buffer that would apply regardless of this RB or CB zone. And that would be expected to remain with any additions to this building. They are right on the edge of parking compliance. And if they did any additions, it would require more parking than what they have. So staff doesn't expect that buffer to go away or the parking to go away on that north side. Additionally, if you are doing a larger addition, it does kick you into design review. Again, those scale, compatibility, setback considerations, all can be reviewed by the Planning Commission for any large additions on that side of the property. So with that, we are recommending that you send a positive recommendation to the City Council because it generally complies with the master plan guidance and overall has better regulations for compatibility in building design. One thing to note is that we did receive some community input, one letter in support from a resident and property owner nearby, as well as a letter in support from the community council for the area. Otherwise, we didn't receive any concerns. And that is the end of my presentation.
Great, thank you, Daniel. Any questions for Daniel at this point? No? Okay, I understand the applicant, Ryan Littlefield, is here. Does he wish to make a presentation?
So Adrian, I'm able to unmute Ryan Littlefield. I'm not able to make him a panelist. So I'm gonna unmute him and we can talk to him.
Okay.
Ryan, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can. I apologize. I don't know why, but through WebEx, you're just not able to be made a panelist. I can make Stuart Gray a panelist if he has a presentation that you want to show on the screen.
Yeah, Stuart is actually the one who has the presentation all set to go, so I'll defer to him.
Okay, well, that worked out great. So we planned it that way. Stuart, yeah. You should be able to share your screen now.
I'm gonna work on getting which screen I want pulled up here. Are you seeing our presentation?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through the presentation because Daniel has really covered many of the aspects that we've spent a lot of time thinking about and going over. So I don't want to necessarily spend a lot of time rehashing. What I would like to show is we've looked at these images and you see them here. And as we make this request, we recognize that the Planning Commission has to have the long view, that you're seeing what happens to this property in the future beyond the owner that's there. Obviously, we have a very singular focus in representing the owner and in speaking in their behalf, what it is their intent really is for the property. And so we'll speak to that more than anything else at this point in time, because frankly, the presentation that Daniel has given really enumerates many of the limitations that are imposed by RB versus CB. Contender has been a vital part of the 9th and 9th District for quite some time now, a little over a decade. They moved into this current building in 2012, 2013, and they really have gone to great lengths to make sure they fit into this neighborhood as far as aesthetically and as a business and being a vital part of the feel that is in that community. Again, this next slide, much of this was taken from information that was provided from the staff, so we'll go ahead and skip that. This next part is really the key element to our discussion as we sat down with them. By the way, my name is Stuart Gray, as it states. I am an owner in a small local firm here in Salt Lake City, an architectural firm. And I also admit to spending far too much time and money at Contender because I love bicycles and I like how they approach business. So we had an opportunity to kind of talk through what are some of the options that they might consider. And this graphic represents conceptual layouts for the additions under the CBR guidelines. Now, you will note that in the staff recommendation, they've oriented the front of property to 10th East. Our orientation, at least the way we envision it, would be to orient to 9th South. That's the natural front to the building in terms of how we want to address the community and the property itself. And as such, and as he mentioned, we end up with some natural buffers with regards to the parking. And that is a key driver in any conversation and any concepts that we've looked at, is this idea we've got to maintain the parking and good traffic flow through the property. And certainly over the last few months, that's been highlighted as they've seen an increased traffic as people are looking to purchase bicycles to be able to exercise outdoors. So these white dashed areas that you see are critical parking areas and traffic flow. We considered options for expansion there. They're just not great options. And so that parking becomes a natural buffer, which is why we're recommending that the 10-foot setback occurs at the back of property or to the north of property, pardon me, which would again increase that buffer from the, though it's institutionally zoned, it's a residential neighbor to the north. And certainly we are considering that as we look at different designs. I'll jump to the next slide. These are just some initial concepts. We looked at the neighborhood itself. We've taken numerous photos and done some studies of the traffic in the area, kind of looking at what are our best options. And these are some initial massing concepts. Which way could we grow? What's the best way to do it with the intent to have the least impact as well on the property. These next images are just a few images that represent some more in-depth studies on how do we meet the glazing requirements of CB. These are certainly initial concepts, and if this is granted, we'll explore some of this stuff further and make sure that we're fully compliant with the CB. But I think this illustrates that we're not going to see a significant change in appearance. This is more about taking a building that's already adding to the community, building upon that same concept, and making sure that we not only improve the capacity for the business to operate, but that we're conscientious and responsible to the community. And again, I think that this image right here, again, really clarifies to us that we want to focus the front of the building to the front. And as Daniel has so eloquently said, by switching to CB, we believe that gives the Planning Commission more opportunity to make sure proper growth happens. And that, again, our focus is to put the primary focus of the property to the 9th South street front. And that concludes our presentation as far as that's concerned. We believe the staff recommendation addressed all the other issues. And again, if this is awarded, we will start the next process, which is getting plans that we would present to the city for the addition.
Great. Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for Stuart or Ryan from any of the commissioners? No? Okay. I'll go ahead then and open up the public hearing. I'll ask John, is there anyone here from the community council? I know we have a letter from the community council in our packet, but isn't here to speak on behalf of the council.
I do not see anybody from the community council. We did not receive any emails about the project. It looks like currently the only hand up is Zachary Dussault.
Okay. We will let Zach speak. Zach, you have 2 minutes.
Sorry, I have him muted.
Hey,
Sorry, Zach, I muted you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay. Zachary Dussault speaking in favor of the application. Just going to make it short. The only thing that I would kind of disagree with the presentation is that with the parking ordinance update hopefully happening sometime this year, the minimum parking spaces for the building would be reduced slightly. It's going from, I believe, right now it's, I was just looking at the ordinances, the current is 2 spaces per 1,000 square feet of retail space, and either under RB or CB, so it doesn't really affect this rezone. It's going to be reduced to 1.5 per 1,000 square feet. I think that's a positive, but just to keep in mind. But regardless, RB and CB would be the same 1.5. So the parking was going to be reduced by the ordinance update and not by this rezone. Other than that, I'm in favor of the application, and I think the applicant did a good job at presenting the positives. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Zach. Okay. Anyone else indicating an interest in speaking?
No, Madam Chair, it doesn't look like anybody's indicated they'd like to speak, and we didn't receive any emails in the last few seconds, so I think we're okay to close the public hearing.
Okay, great. Thanks, John. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and bring the discussion back to the commission. Any follow-up questions, concerns, discussion from the commission on the proposed rezoning?
I'm happy to make a motion.
All right, Matt.
Based on the information in the staff report, the information presented in the input received in the public hearing, I move the Planning Commission recommend the City Council approve the proposed map amendment to PLN PCM 2020-00126 at 989 East, 900 South, RB to CB rezone.
Okay, got a motion by Matt.
I'll second.
Second by Amy. I think she was faster on the draw. All right, unless there's any discussion, we'll go ahead and run through the roll call. Sarah?
Yes.
Carolyn?
Agree.
Crystal? Crystal?
Crystal's audio seems to be as an attendee.
All right, we'll come back to Crystal. Brenda?
Crystal could give a thumbs up, that would work.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Back to Crystal. You can give a thumbs up if you approve of the motion. I can't see Crystal's screen. Can Crystal hear? All right, we'll still come back to Crystal. Andreas?
This case is pretty straightforward, so I will vote yes.
Okay, Matt?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Maureen?
Yes.
Okay. Back to Crystal. Did we ever get,
She just put in a comment on the chat that she can hear you, but we can't hear her. And
how does can she vote?
Can she type her vote into the chat?
Yeah, can you type your vote?
she
into the-
did. She said, I am a yes.
Your yes. Okay, great. Motion passes. We'll make a positive recommendation to the city council. There will be a separate public hearing before the city council before the matter is either approved or denied. Unless John or Nick or Molly has anything else we need to run through tonight?
I don't think so. This is better than 11 o'clock endings, so I think we can just enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yes.
Yeah, just a heads up, the next meeting does have a very long agenda that we've already had to kick three items off because of the length.
Awesome.
We're trying, our goal is to try to keep it so it doesn't go past 9.
That's a
but
solid goal.
we can't control, obviously, how many people are going to show up to comment and the length of discussion you guys may find appropriate. Just to give you a heads up on that.
Okay. Thank you for that, Nick.
We did manage to get it down to 6 items from 9, so.
Oh, gosh. And we're so very grateful and thankful for that.
I think the last time we had 5 items, it was almost a 5-hour meeting. So I don't hold much hope, I guess.
Yeah.
For 6.
Well,
Let's be optimistic. Okay. All right. Until then.
Good night, everyone.
Oh, if you are going away on vacation, for any of the July or August meetings, I know nobody maybe is going anywhere, but we do have some packed agendas coming up in July. So please let Marlene know if you will be going out of town.
Okay.
So we're not caught kind of last minute, not knowing if we have quorum.
Okay. Thank
Sounds
you.
good.
Mom. We will do that. All right. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.